gets edited or whether we'll get any social media blocking when I say it. So, gentlemen, so this has been going around for probably easily a decade on social media, but it really highlights how important tonality, cadence, emphasis, and communication when you're talking to anybody is. So this is the funny part, and I'll try to remember to put it up. I'll put the sentence up on the screen here, so when it goes out. So Joshua, make sure you do that. So the phrase is, "I didn't say we should kill him." So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 7 words in one sentence. Think about it for a second, ladies and gentlemen that are listening and watching, and lads, think about it. Emphasize a different word in the sentence and see how it changes. Okay? I didn't say we should kill him. 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 7 different ways to say the same sentence, and every time you say it, it means something different. This highlights how important emphasis, tone, phraseology, tonality in everything you say matters. This goes to your written stories on your work orders. This goes to how you speak to service advisors, your baymates, your apprentices, your shop foremen, your service managers. It doesn't matter, your spouse, whoever it is you're speaking to. This one 7-word sentence can accurately describe how important that is. With that said, between the 3 of us, and I'll come back around to myself because I want the 2 of you to respond. What is a circumstance that's happened in the last 5 business days where you've gotten home, you sat in the truck at the end of the day before you got out to go walk in the house, and you went, "Fuck, I should have said that differently." Give me an example of something in the last week, and let's talk about it.
I'll go first. So I've been having issues with one of my lube techs. Start time is 7:30. That's uniform on, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. For the past week to 2, he's been coming in, 7:25, 7:26, 7:27, walks in, punches in, goes up and gets changed, comes back down. Time he's ready to work is, it's now 7:45, 10 to 8. Customers are like, because we open at 7:30, customers are already ready to go. I had previously talked to him and just said, you know what, like, our start time is 7:30. If you want to work the 7:30 to 4 shift, you got to be here ready to go at 7:30. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This would have been, I can't remember what day of it was last week, but I'm usually there at 7:30. I don't have to be there at 7:30, but I'm there at 7:30 to start my day, get through all my warranty work, get the day sorted, look at my workload for the day, see what's coming through the shop, see what I'm going to have to step in and delegate and manage, and who's going to go to what, look at my possible comebacks, if I'm going to have to get involved with them or if they're going to go straight back to the tech. So I do all that stuff before the day starts at 8 o'clock. There's a Tim Hortons 2 doors down from us. So that's like a Dunkin' Donuts or, Krispy Kreme or anything like that. Any drive-through coffee shop, right? I whip down there. I'm like, okay, I'm on my way to work. I'm like, I'm going to stop and grab a coffee quick. I go and grab a coffee. I look at my clock in my truck and it's 7:22. And as I'm ordering, my lube tech pulls in behind me. So I place my order, go through, get parked on the street, walk in, get my stuff ready, or start going through my list for the day, log into my computer, looking at everything. And then my lube tech walks through the door at 7:29. Walks through the door, walks to his bench, stands at his bench. He's drinking his coffee, eating his breakfast. And then my fixed ops manager comes out to me and it's 7:46, 7:47. And he's like, "We got waiters." And I'm like, okay. And I look down and he's still standing at his bench, eating his breakfast, drinking his coffee. I watch. He finishes it off, walks upstairs, comes back down. By the time he comes back down, it's 8:15. I had already went and got the waiter, pulled it in on the lube bay, dropped it there, let him do the first job, and then came up to him and looked at him, and I said, like, what time do we start? And he's like, 7:30. And I'm like, so what time were you here ready to go? 7:30. I looked at him. I'm like, okay, right now you're full of shit. I've watched you walk in. Like, I just ripped him a new one. And I was like, the next time this happens, I'm like, this is your first verbal warning. This is going to go in your personnel file. And going forward from here, the next time you're late, I'm going to write your ass up. And then the next time I'll walk you out the fucking door. And that's how I said it in that tone and that cadence. Because I was, I had talked to him previously. I was pissed at what was going on. And I walked away, turned to walk away. And he just stood there, right? Like kind of stunned. And that's when I went through a couple of jobs during the day, and then I was just like, fuck, I should have not. I immediately, like, as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I was just like, this is not the way to address this. So I turned around. I did catch myself that day, and I went back and turned around and talked to him. And I said, you know what, the tone that I used this morning, that's the incorrect tone. He was like, oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. I said, no, it's not okay. So the tone that I used was incorrect, but I needed to get my point across. I said, if you come in to work, I just need you ready to go. Like, you need to be ready to go. You can have your breakfast sitting at your workbench, and you can grab the first vehicle, pull it in, lift it up, start the oil draining, and then eat. Like, that. I don't have any problem with that. He's watched technicians eat at their benches all the time, stuff like that. I said, I don't have any problem with that. But your priority is to come in here and make sure you're ready to go at 7:30, like ready to work, not walk in the door at 7:30 and get changed and then be ready to work. So I did catch myself there, but yeah, in the heat of the moment, I was just like, I was ready to tear him a new one and feed it to him. So yeah, that's my experience from this past week. So
there's a couple things in there. You've already caught yourself. That's great. The challenge is, and I think most of us, we aren't taught what to say, what to do in those moments. Basically, I've said it, I don't know how many times I've already said it today in the last 24 hours between recordings, but it's an iterative process, what we do every day, including leadership. And in that moment, you'd already had at least one conversation, because you've had one formal conversation with them, but you've probably had several in passing moments, right? So it's like grinding your gear away almost to the point where there's nothing left. And I'm stoked that you caught it within a day, because the closer you can get to rectifying a situation from the time that it happened to when you've rectified it, the better. Because it's not like, oh, well, he's just admitting something and he doesn't really care. It's like, this is expressing genuine concern. This is not how I want to deal with things. My apologies for how I said it and what I said. The principle that I was trying to portray got across, but unfortunately more came across than was appropriate, so on and so forth. The challenge is, how are you, and understandably, you've already, communicated what's the series of events that's going to happen next. He understands that. The challenge for you and for many, including myself, is how do we broach the gap between absolute and utter frustration and near anger at that point? Because grown ass man, we start at 7:30. That doesn't mean that you're here at 7:30 and getting changed and 8:15 starting work. We start work at 7:30. Like, it's a fairly reasonable request. We start at 7:30. We have customers here at 7:15. Service advisors are writing them at 7:15, which means they're ready to be worked on at 7:30, and we have that booked every single day. That's why you start at 7:30. So you're here to work at 7:30. If you don't want to start at 7:30, perhaps this isn't the place for you. Perhaps all of those other different conversations, but we start at 7:30. It's a reasonable request. How do you broach not getting angry in those moments? I think that, for me, is one of the biggest challenges I have. I have the most challenges with my son. I've told him thousands of times to do something the same way over and over and over again, and it's like bashing my head against the wall sometimes. But remembering to take the breath before you speak on something like that is the most important thing that I've learned how to do. And I think at certain volume levels of anger and frustration, it's almost impossible to take that breath. So, what do you plan on doing to try and prevent from doing it in the first place next time?
It's like what you said. It's take that breath, take that moment before I have to uh, react. Right? I was coming off of like a lot of feedback from my fixed ops manager, and he's very on and off. Right? It's like, which is easy for me because I can get him going really easy, and then he leaves me alone and leaves the shop alone. Right? So if he comes out and he starts nitpicking, I know what topics will get him going, and he'll take off, and he'll get flustered and take off from there. But I have to watch his feedback to me,
Mm-hmm.
because his feedback to me is what he knows what he can do to try and get me going. So I just have to do that. I have to start taking the pause and the break and be like, hey, I'll deal with this. Like, just that's great. Let me deal with it in my own time here, and I'll deal with it. Like, I'll handle it. It'll get handled. Don't worry about it. So yeah, that's really it. It's just I have to take, and I've had to catch us several times where I have to take the break. Right, I have to take that mental switch and flip it, because I've had technicians come to me. The other story I can tell you is last week, or the week before, I had a shop meeting. I put into, because the complaint was my technicians are supposed to build their quotes, right? Parts, labor, boom. They got to go hand it off to the service advisor. Service advisor calls and sells the work. The reason why I do that is because I want to pull accountability from the service advisors. I want to see how much work they're actually doing. So I put the accountability on my technicians. I didn't explain it that way. I just told them that this is what we're going to do going forward. Out of out of 8 technicians, 3 fought me on it. So those 3 voiced one opinion to one technician. That one technician came forward. He was like, yeah, talking about the quotes and stuff like that. And I was like, it's super simple, dude. Like, you, this is how you do it. And he's like, well, yeah, I know how you do it, but you got to. I'm like, hey, this is stuff you guys need to talk to me about, right? I didn't get, like, right away. I was just like, fuck, not again. They're going to talk to me about this. I don't want to. That's the soundtrack that played in my head. I took a breath. I turned around and was like, I actively listened to what the concern he had to say, and I was like, okay, like, you guys need to talk to me. Like, if you're getting this frustrated with the processes that I'm putting in place, I can't correct them without you guys coming forward and telling me. So that was the biggest thing there, was I caught myself. I turned around and actively listened to what was going on, and then I approached it from there. But yeah,
Beauty.
it's the biggest thing is catching myself, right? And that's been a big learning curve stepping into like a leadership role. It's just not like, do as I say and not as I do. Like, you got to watch what you do, because
There
they're
is
going to
an
turn around.
aspect of that, though. There is, obviously there are stages that you have to get. You have to broach trust so that they trust you enough to follow instruction. That do as I say. You got to strip the doing things that you shouldn't be doing,
Yeah.
so that it's not do as I say because I'm doing it, not do as I say, not as I do. You want to get rid of that as much as humanly possible because you're leading by example. But Marshall, what do you, just before you give us an example, what would you have to say to Richard in the circumstances that he's just posed?
Oh, I was thinking a lot, and then we went to the second story, and then it got me pumped up because we was talking about that in our private chat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so then I got all squirrel brained. But anyway, I was kind of thinking about because you know how I feel about technicians doing extra stuff for free. But I feel like this is like a pretty common situation from a leadership or even a leading from the middle situation
Mm-hmm.
because um, we've all been late. We've all gotten ruts mentally, and then it's a struggle to get into work, and then we've all been in a position where we have to talk to another technician about their tardiness. Um, and I feel like you missed an opportunity to find out what's going on. That's what I feel like. Maybe there's something else happening that you're not considering, because like when I come in late, uh, there's something happening.
Late for Marshall, folks, is when he's like just put in 24 hours straight in 2 days or some ridiculous amount of hours because he's on call for GDOT. So don't let this guy say coming in late. My God.
Well, I get in this like once a year. I get in this deal where I come in at 8:30, and then I'll work till 5:30 and go home, which sounds like a normal shift for a lot of people, but I normally am coming in at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. So for me to come in at 8:30, I'm not jazzed up and pumped up about what I'm doing. Something is going on. And I've run into where, because of what I do and the nature of what I do, when I have an apprentice, um, I tend to push my apprentices pretty hard because I want them to be successful when they break out on their own. And if I don't push them to where they can find that natural ability, that natural time that works for them, because it may be 45 hours, it may be 50 hours, it may be 40 hours. 40 hours might be the number for them. But if they don't push themselves out to see what they're capable of, then they don't know what their ability is, where that threshold is. So I am known for pushing them pretty hard. But what I find is then all of a sudden I'll get an apprentice where they are just, I'm like, hey, tomorrow, this is the schedule. We need to do this and this and this. And then, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we've got to be at this place, and we need to be there by 5 a.m. So I need you to meet me at the shop at 4:30. And then I'm there at 4:30, and then 4:45 rolls around and the apprentice still isn't there. I get in my truck and leave. Because I got a schedule to keep. And if I'm late for one appointment, I'm late for every appointment after that for the rest of the day. So, but when that comes in, when that happens though, I'm usually like, what's going on, dude? Because like, this is what you signed up for. So what is there something I can do to help you be here on time?
Because it's a double whammy for you in that circumstance, right? If they're late, you're late. And it's no longer them just affecting their own selves and their own paycheck and their own whatever. They're affecting the customers that they're supposed to be helping, and they're affecting your ability to take care of customers. Like that's a double whammy, and then it ultimately affects everybody's paycheck if they're late when you're in a team situation like that. Unlike in Richard's circumstance where, the one individual is only affecting the customer. In reality, that's fundamentally now it is affecting the whole team, because if the business is not successful as a whole, as in they're not getting like the lube deck is not getting all the work done in the day that they're supposed to get done, that affects the business as a whole. But it's the direct is customer mechanic late customer issue. And you're like a team.
But like say this person has been coming in on time for 6 months, and then now all of a sudden they're coming in late, or if this is just always been a thing,
This is obviously not the case. This has been a habitual, not.
So if that were the case, Marshall, like if that
you
were
would have saw that.
Yeah,
you would have saw it. Yeah,
like it's for instance, like like if like, and it's the same thing. If I'm late coming in, people are like, "Well, what the fuck's going on?" Right?
Yeah.
Like, why is Rich late? Why is he leaving early? What's going on? Like, what? Like, last week, my wife had an eye doctor's appointment, and everything fell through because her mom was supposed to drive her to her appointment. Her mom got sick, so everything fell through. I was like, you know what? fuck it, I'll take you. And my wife was like,
Yeah.
really? Like, you're going to take me? And I was like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to step away from the shop. And in that 3 hour gap that I was gone, like, I don't know, it's like the manure truck pulled up and big ass fan going and just decided to sling it everywhere because my phone did not stop ringing. But yeah, I get it. I understand that. Where if I have somebody who's in a routine and then all of a sudden they slip up and they're late, yeah, I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to talk to them as a human being, right? I broached that subject at my shop meeting on Wednesday. I just told them, I said, you know what, guys, like I said, I understand everybody has their good days and their bad days. And yes, there are days when I'm flustered and everything like that. But I said, well, I will always stop and make time for you guys if you want to have a conversation with me. I need you guys. I told them, I said, without knowing, without getting input back from you, if we have a shop meeting and I know there's an issue and I bring it up and nobody says anything at the end, status quo is good with me. That's it. Then, then don't come to me later and complain to it. Like, if you guys want to talk to me about something, come and talk to me, because I told them, I said, I'm trying to make things as efficiently as possible in the shop with the processes and the systems that we have in place. If you guys see a way to make that system or process streamlined and smoother and more efficient, come talk to me about it, because unless I get feedback, I'm going to believe that the status quo is good and I'm just going to keep plowing forward. Right. So that really opened their eyes. And I told them too, I did tell them, I said, because I said, I've come from a shop where you open your mouth, you get disciplined. Right. I said, I've come from a shop where I've worked for people like that, where like you want to have some input, you care, and you want to have, you can see an issue and you want to address it and you bring it forward, and you get disciplined because it's beyond the status quo, right? Nobody wants change.
And we
So I
all know
told them, I said, I will never.
You bring up feedback like that, that is not a good shop to be in.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, that's just like,
and
it
I
doesn't
told them,
matter what. It does not matter what it is you're bringing up. It could be something ridiculous, like, hey, I'm allergic to this chemical. It's part of the cleaners that we use in the toilets. So every time I sit down, I get a rash on my ass. Can we change cleaning products? It could be something as stupid as that. But you think these individuals spend 8 to 10 hours on average, 5 days a week. They spend a bulk of their living life in these facilities.
Yeah.
Just listen to them. It could be something simple. Like, it really could be something really simple and stupid that could completely change their day. So listen. And the challenge is, at the beginning of this, and before we get to Marshall's example here, your first example, even though you said it, it's like, I will listen to you and I try to treat them like a human. In that circumstance, you blew up and you didn't.
Oh yeah,
right.
I know.
You lost control. You lost, your emotions took control, not your sane leadership mindset. You let emotions rule you. You let emotions take control and respond, snap, and you didn't. You treated them like you were an asshole. So, but you caught yourself. Let's go into Marshall's example and chew on that a bit, because this is good. This is the kind of feedback that folks need.
I think I only had one real thing, and I don't know if it's really the way I said it or the way someone else said it. But I did have, in the last 5 days, it was a morning deal, kind of similar to Richard's, just like first thing. And I'm getting ready to, I had already gone on a call. I'd gone to a customer. I've been sick all week, so my head space is not ideal. And, I got a lot of things going on professionally that I'm trying to keep organized, because of the nature of what I do. I have a lot of things on my plate that I'm trying to just constantly keep squared away and make sure nothing kind of falls away. But anyhow, I had gone on a call before anybody's even at the shop. I handle my call. I come back to the shop, and I usually do this like morning thing with my management team, where it's just like a check-in, like, hey, I'm alive. See ya. But I do that because it's an opportunity for them, if there's something that they need to say to me, that they have that opportunity. And then if I have something I need to say to them, then I have that opportunity. And it's just kind of a routine thing that I do with my management team so that they see my face. And I don't know, it works out well because they don't see me otherwise. If I were to just leave, go to calls all day long, I get back after they've already left, and I get there before they get there. So it's just something I do. So anyhow, I go in there and I talk to my management team real quick, and one of my managers is like, "Hey, you need to be calling on this customer," and I'm like, "Okay, well, like it's just me, dude. Like I got a lot of stuff going on. Like my schedule's already booked out. Like I don't, he's like, basically like I don't care how you make it happen. Just like this day and this day, you're going to call on this customer." I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying, but like I don't have time in my schedule to do that. And he's like, well, basically just make it happen. And we kind of went back and forth, and it got slightly heated more than it should have because like him and I don't have this particular manager. We don't have like heated discussions like that. It's always like very mutual, and so it kind of threw me off a little bit because then when it got heated for a second, I kind of just back. You know how you gotta when you're in an argument with your wife and you gotta decide in that moment, is this a hill I'm willing to die on? And I was in that moment, and I was just like, dude, this is not a hill I'm willing to die on. I'm just gonna get the fuck out of here. So I was just like, all right, cool, whatever, dude. Yeah, I wasn't willing to. I shut down. Like it put me in a position to shut down. I wasn't willing to continue the conversation because I felt like maybe his headspace, maybe in retrospect now that I'm talking it through, he wasn't in the right headspace for this conversation. I maybe didn't help it any, because I just don't recollect exactly what all was said because, when you get in a moment like that and you're frustrated, sometimes you kind of black out because I feel like that's where I was headed in that blackout moment. And so I was just like, dude, I'm just, all right, cool, whatever. But the problem never got solved because like I'm still in this, like, I've got to figure out how to do this customer deal. So, I was trying to ask him like basically how does he want me to make this happen? But instead of helping me figure out a solution, it kind of turned into this like, I don't really give a shit how you make this happen, just make it happen, And I was just like, okay, well, fuck me then, I don't know. That's what I got.
So in that moment, I've got a couple of pieces of advice, and I'm willing to bet Richard does as well. And one of the things I've come across recently, there's this one lady that's on, especially, and she's great on TikTok, but I think she's on just about every platform now. And she poses, how's it phrased? It's how to professionally say this.
Yeah.
And it's like things like, how do you professionally tell someone to go fly a kite? And sometimes she does it herself. Sometimes she has different characters that she portrays. And she also, I believe that she has like a work bestie that does the repartee back and forth sometimes. So, and I think both of you know who it is. But in this circumstance, I think a great phrase for you to have used is, which one of my jobs on those 2 days would you like me to deprioritize so that I accomplish this task? So it emphasizes that everything that's on your plate is a priority. However, because everything is set, everything has a high priority, you don't know which isn't as high a priority that is already on your schedule to replace it with this item that they're trying to communicate to you. If that doesn't work, the secondary or ancillary questions could be something along the lines of, is this a priority to you? Is this a priority to the business? Is there something emergent? Is there something detrimental to our business that could be the cause of this? And the other side of things that I don't know, and this is where leadership, between you and leadership, because you're fully mobile, because you are effectively running your own department, because you are running apprentices at the same time, I don't know how much communication you have between you, the advisors, your service manager, and your branch manager, how adept they are at your existing schedule. So when someone comes to you and says, this needs to get done, just find a way to get it done. If they don't know your schedule, they can't adequately tell you to just get something done. So perhaps this might be a moment for you to reflect upon how you schedule, and maybe an opportunity to maybe think about a way to structure or come up with a way that they know what you're doing, at least in a loose sense, through the week, and having a priority tag or something like that. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. I make calls, fundamentally my day is cold call, cold email, reaching out to client to book meetings for fixed ops marketing. Once we get a hold of somebody, that is now put into a sales funnel, so to speak, a sales pipeline. I book them as contact made if I haven't booked a meeting. They're now a priority contact. So I need to be calling them regularly, or I need to be emailing them regularly, trying to figure out what part of our solution is the most value to them, and basically pitch the shit out of it as much as I possibly can to close a meeting. So I actually mark it in our CRM as high priority. You know, a little drop down menu, low, medium, high, and so on and forth, and it's kind of gauged based on how close they are to our ICP. You could do the same thing across a schedule where you have, let's say you have roughly 40 hours a week. No, you have probably closer to 60. But if you have roughly 40 slots and they're filled, say, with 30 different trucks or customers, you can drop down on them, which are high priority, which are low priority, meaning low priority is maintenance. High priority is vehicle off-road, VOR. So if you put your VOR status on, say, the 5 things, and say your Tuesday and Thursday, which I think is what you had said, where you need to call on these customers on Tuesday and Thursday. Well, my entire Tuesday and Thursday is filled with VOR repair. We have high priority clients with vehicles off-road that we have repair booked for. I cannot reschedule those, or else we are detrimentally affecting that customer's business. So unless I reschedule a high priority VOR repair, I cannot accomplish this task. So now what you've done is, in that moment, in that hypothetical moment, you have expressed which customer, which vehicle, and the priority level, and why you cannot schedule, not just that I don't have time. Because as a leader, and I've been in the circumstance on the other side of the coin, when I've walked out in the shop or the collision center, and if we don't fundamentally operate at like 150% productivity across the board, shit doesn't get done on time. And when stuff doesn't get done on time, we delay rentals. Rentals add up quickly, especially when they're full size. If somebody comes in with an expedition that's been, that struck a deer, or the deer struck the expedition is the way it's supposed to be. When the deer strikes an expedition and they're on a suburban rental, that suburban rental is like $190 a day. If we go past our rental days, there's no getting, good luck trying to get a rental extension, especially now, right? That means that the store is eating $190 a day if we don't meet targets. So when you go out to the shop, for me, fundamentally, if I was going out to the shop and say, can I get you to do this? And they say, no, I can't. I say, well, you got to figure it out. That's not an appropriate way to communicate. And that's where this whole conversation started with tonality, how you speak, what you say, how important that is. Like, I understand what you're doing is a high priority. I understand that if it doesn't get done at a certain time, we don't meet our timeline for the rest of the 3 vehicles around it. I understand that. I need you to pause it where it's safe to pause. I need you to take care of this. I understand that means that you're going to be delayed. I'm going to get you help in order to finish this on time. And I'm going to transition you into something different to make sure that the timeline works. I did that. That was part of my role managing the shop. I needed to make sure that everybody was getting the things done that needed to get done, even if they didn't know all of the 30,000 foot view. That is what we're supposed to do at the leadership level. We're supposed to be looking at the 30,000 foot view and going, I know a good chunk of what's going on intimately enough to be able to do the shell game to make sure everything does get done. However, I also need to communicate to the folks that are working for me to say, hey, I need you to pull you from this for this reason. This is why. and I'm going to make sure that you are also covered for your time to make sure that those things still get done. Whether it's me actually doing the work or not is a different matter altogether, depending on the side of the shop. But
Yeah,
he
I
didn't
feel
give
like there's
enough information, and you weren't able to give enough information either. And that's, I think, where it kind of broke down. Is that do you agree?
yeah, and that's the thing is I was just kind of like looking for like, hey, okay, well, help me figure this out. You know what I mean? I could have verbally been more direct by saying I probably did it underhandedly. Honestly, I should have probably been more direct with, hey, okay, well, if that's what needs to get done, I need you to help me figure out a way to do these other things that I have already committed to customers on, and so,
I wouldn't think that's
um,
underhanded, though. I think one of our, I think this is the opposite side of the coin, and it's something that doesn't happen to you often. It hasn't happened to you often in a long time, Marshall, because you're in a leadership role yourself, so you don't often find yourself or regularly find yourself in circumstances where somebody's telling you what to do, right? And when you
yeah,
are so regularly in control of what goes on through your day, your week, your month, when someone tells you what to do and they don't give you the context you need to be successful, it immediately puts you on the defensive. So instead of
yeah,
responding appropriately, you responded defensively, like, what the, like, you don't,
yeah,
it's kind of like,
100%.
uh,
That's 100% how I responded to it. And like I said, I know that I didn't respond appropriately, and a lot of times when I'm by myself in that situation, um, I give myself more leeway. Like if there was an apprentice standing next to me, I make a point to respond and react certain ways because I know that, the baby's watching. You know what I'm saying? So I always have that in my mind when I'm with an apprentice, but I was by myself when the moment happened. And like I said, I let it get away from me. And, I never had an opportunity later on to say, hey, clear the air with said manager, and that kind of frustrated me a little bit too. But the thing is like between me and him, the way our relationship is like he knows that I don't like I don't typically dwell on a situation, and so like when I walked out of there, and up until this moment, I didn't rethink about it. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought about it a little bit later, but like I didn't dwell on it. Like at the end of the day, I shut that work mind off and I forgot all about it. And he's kind of similar. So so luckily I don't feel like he was thinking later on like, hey, what the fuck was that all about? And
Mhm.
I know I wasn't, so hopefully, but you're exactly right, Josh. Like that's how that transpired because like I typically do everything on my own, um, and I wasn't given the maybe the big picture, or I wasn't receiving the big picture moment, as far as like why this particular situation was so important to him or the company or the business directly or any of those items, because then it helps me understand the prioritization when I'm like at my the number two customer for our whole business, in this location, what is a priority to me versus one that I don't get any sales from. And now all of a sudden you want me to start calling on them. Like that to me is a conquest and is more of a is less priority for me in the moment. So maybe there's something in the background that I'm not aware of. But beings as if I'm going to be taking that account over or whatever, I need to understand those situations so that I can help run the business in the direction that there was no vision was passed to me. You know what I'm saying? And I can't
No
help
why.
you make your vision a reality if I don't know what the fuck we're doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Agreed.
it was, like I said, it was just overall frustrating. I know it was frustrating for him because of the way the whole conversation went down. And then then it just turned into a snowball fight. And I don't really roll like that. And I was just like, okay, whatever, dude. And like I said, I shut down. Wasn't a hill I was willing to die on. Let's just move on. I'll figure it out on the
Mm-hmm.
back end. But yeah, it was. that was the last 5 days communication issue.
Cool. I appreciate you sharing that. And that, I think it those two well, actually three, 4-ish examples, and well, maybe even 5 if you include my son, really illustrate how important. Oh, look at that lunch! It really illustrates how important tonality, emphasis, communication, why, take a step back in the moment. If you find yourself either getting heated, getting frustrated, getting defensive, it's really important to take a step back and understand, why do you feel this way? Should you be feeling this way? And should I really be responding with the words that are in my head right now? Right? Like there's always more to the story. Sometimes there's no more to the story. Like sometimes we read into things. I know I do that regularly with my wife, especially with my wife more than anything else. I don't read into things at work. I don't read, like, it's work is work for the most part for me. I don't read into anything. However, at the same time, if something sounds like it's somebody's been backhanding me, that immediately sends me for a trip. Like I fall down rabbit holes all the damn time, and it's just me being my worst enemy more than anything. So I got to be better at that. But I really appreciate you, the two of you, sharing those. I really, really do. And I hopefully somebody out there can get something really great out of that.